All right, good morning. This is Dr. Scott from Sixth Sense Acupuncture. I'm a registered acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist, and you're watching the Get Busy Livin podcast. And we have a wonderful guest today, Ken Kleinberg. What city are you from, Ken?
Well, I'm in the USA and I live in San Diego County, California.
San Diego. San Diego. So, what time is it there?
It is Wednesday afternoon Wednesday, basically noon on Wednesday.
Noon. Okay. So we're a little bit early here in Brisbane, in Australia. So it's only 6 a.m. So thank you so much for your time, Ken. Much appreciated for coming on, especially at short notice. I had someone pull out, so thank you so much for the short notice. So I only just told you, I think it was last Wednesday or your last Wednesday.
Yeah,
So
we
thank you
interviewed
so much.
you on our show, and then towards the end of that, we just kind of planned I could come on. So I mean, it wasn't necessarily short notice for me, so I had plenty of time to prepare for this. I will admit one mistake I made is actually yesterday. I was it was like a few minutes before 12 noon, and I was sitting there and I was waiting for you, and I actually sent you a message like, "Hey, I'm ready." And then I just happened to pop onto my calendar and I looked and I'm like, "Oh, it's not today. It's tomorrow. Oops." And then I quickly unsent the message to you. I was like, "Oops." So, yeah.
I've done that before. I've actually, yeah, I went to actually to a, it was actually an acupuncturist. That's right. Yeah, I went to an acupuncturist. And I was a day early. They're like, "Oh, we thank you so much for being so enthusiastic." I was like,
Thank you for
"What?"
coming, but your appointment is until tomorrow.
So that's all cool. So thank you so much again. So, and I'll start off with my normal questioning. So, what gets you out of bed every day, Ken?
What gets me out of bed every day is the opportunity that I get. The opportunity I get to reach out to people, to make content that's helping people, that points people in the right direction towards their health journey, towards their weight goals. I That's a big part of my passion and what I do, and really helping people navigate through all the marketing misconceptions out there around food and marketing deceptions around food. Just that alone, that gets me out of bed each day. And just knowing that, just real simple, just knowing that it's a brand new day, and I get to embrace that brand new day.
Yeah, that's so true. That's part of my motto as well, as to help as many people as possible. And yeah, one of my goals is to help a million Australians um, get their health back on track. So
Hmm.
yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ken. That's an awesome thing for you to do for the community. So that leads me into the next question. So, how did you get into weight loss coaching?
That journey literally started. So before I go into when I launched my own brand and company, let's talk a bit about my entire journey as a whole. So about 13 years ago, I was at the heaviest weight of my life. I'm a little short dude. I'm 5 foot, and I was weighing in at 188.5 pounds, and that was a lot, you know. And so at that time, I'd been on other diets before. I'd lost a little bit of weight, but then life creeped back up and I gained the weight back. And, whenever you gain the weight back, you always gain more than what you had before, usually. And you know what? I knew that I needed to lose the weight. I mean, I was getting tired at different tasks, winded at different tasks. I could barely bend down to tie my shoes because my belly was so big. I was showing health signs that if I didn't change some things in my life, and change them soon, that I would end up with a heart attack or stroke. At the time, I had really high blood pressure. I was told actually at dangerous levels. And, I knew that I needed to change something. The whole idea of going on a diet, though, really did not attract me. I did not want to go on another diet. The idea of being restricted to another diet, another plan, and all that, and having to just follow by this rigorous little schedule and all this, just no, it didn't attract me at all. And so I made the decision back then to lose lose the unneeded weight that I had, but to do it in a way to where I was doing it my way. And that is actually really important for the journey that I went on. I didn't know how important it was back then. I just knew I wanted to lose the weight, but I wanted to do it my way. In a sense, I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that can resonate with that. Well, that's pretty much what I did. Now, my journey did take me quite some time to lose that 62.5 pounds, but literally it was kind of like steady as she goes. The way I started was by following, I was with a network marketing company at the time, and they had an app that basically brought you through 12 weeks, and each week it introduced one small change. And so over the next 12 weeks, I started there. So over the next 12 weeks, I just started making these small, minute changes in my day-to-day routine, and just making that sustainable. When the 12 weeks was up, I had established enough of a pattern and enough of a habit in my own life that actually continued with that same pattern. Small, sustainable changes, small, sustainable new habits, and then having those then sink in far enough to where it became part of who I was, and then stacking on that, just making little minute adjustments along my path as I went along. Well, fast forward about 5.5 years later, I dropped 62.5 pounds over the course of that whole journey. And then, because of the fact I did it slow, I did it sustainably, all of those changes and new habits and different adjustments that I made at the end of the journey had enough time to sink in and become part of who I was and become automatic. So up here changed. The things I think about, the questions I ask around food, the choices I make at the store, the ingredients I pay attention to, the overall food that I ate on a regular daily basis on my routine. All that had literally changed and become part of who I was. At the time when I dropped the weight, I didn't know how huge that was. It wasn't until I began looking back on hindsight that I began to see how powerful and how huge that was. Because what's happened is over the last 6 years, I've been able to keep the weight off effortlessly, and I don't think about it. It's not something that's not some magic pill or anything like that. What I teach each and every one of my clients, my philosophy is to make those sustainable changes, to make those new habits in a way to where they're going to last for the long haul. Why the long haul? And what do I mean by the long haul? Well, I'm definitely not talking about 4 or 5 months. I'm talking about long haul, meaning a year or two. Why a year or two? Because I can guarantee you that by the time a year or two is up, those new habits, new changes that are sustainable, that you have said, yeah, I can adapt these new things into my life for the next year or two. Absolutely. Those new changes and new sustainable habits have now literally become part of who you are in automatic. That's the key to permanent weight loss. That's the key to make long-lasting, to have long-lasting results show up in your life when it comes to weight reduction, when it comes to getting rid of that unnecessary weight that you just don't need. Your body just doesn't need that. That's the huge part about it, because I'm not about diets. The more I'm diving into doing research around diets and what that even looks like and all that stuff, the more I'm convinced that diets are literally the definition of insanity. And the reason why they're the definition of insanity, I mean, you set a date to lose X amount of weight by X amount of time. Maybe it's for an event. Maybe it's for a wedding. Maybe it's to look good on the beach. Maybe it's to fit into this or that or whatever it is. Well, great. Okay. You set that, and you've got that goal and everything. Great. And then the event happens, X, Y, and Z happens. You've lost the weight and you looked great and you fit into the outfit, whatever. Then what happens? Life goes back to normal. And then all of a sudden, 9 months to a year later, you find yourself back at square one, oftentimes worse. Honestly, if you're going to do all of that work and put in all of that effort to lose the weight, why not do it in a way that's sustainable and produces more long-lasting results, so it's the very last time you have to do it ever again? That's what I mean by diets are literally the definition of insanity. Got a little serious there for a minute, but honestly, really, people, just get away from the whole diet way of thinking altogether. It is not useful for you. It's the definition of insanity. Learn to make more sustainable changes like I have. And that's part of the big philosophy of my program, is those sustainable changes. And then allowing time for those to sink in and become part of who you are. And then you stack some more. You do some other things. You start learning how to pay attention to ingredients. You start learning how some of these ingredients are harmful for your body and damage your metabolism and create chronic inflammation. You start educating yourself around that. And that's what I help people do, I walk them through that education process as well. But it doesn't have to be some kind of grinding, rigorous routine. I mean, good grief, how many times do you have to go through that routine before you finally get it through your thick head? That's nuts. That's insanity. There's no other way to put it. So that's in a nutshell what I'm about, and that's my journey. Now, where your question was, tell you guys about how I became a health coach. So this is where the launch of my brand and company comes in now. In the summer of 2020, I basically, for lack of better words, for those of you who watched the movie The Matrix, you know about the red pill and the blue pill. Yep. Well, summer of 2020, I took my red pill over a lot of things. There's a lot of us that did. I think summer of 2020 was the interruption that a lot of us needed to start waking up and paying attention, and to maybe start something different in our business and our financial lives and different things like that. There's a lot of people that I know that before that summer were just stuck in their regular 9-to-5 job, just la, 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 doing the regular. And then all of a sudden, bam, this interruption comes in. Things get closed down and everything. I call it the scam-demic. But anyhow, things get closed down and everything. And all of a sudden, your whole life has been just brought to a hard stop. And I think that's what a lot of us needed at that time, myself included. I was kind of just floating around in the online world, kind of figuring out what I wanted to do for business and what I wanted to do as an entrepreneur. And that was just a needed interruption. I ended up getting involved with a coaching group. It was kind of one of those high ticket things. And I got involved with a coaching group. There was a bunch of us that went through the same program and kind of curated like a tribe together with it, certified mastery coaching. And it was through that program that I realized that I wanted to become a weight loss coach myself. And so summer of 2020, a mentor through that program, kind of took me underneath his wings and helped me to launch my own brand and company, which is now Mastery Weight Loss. And I was, I love my brand and I love everything my brand is about. And because I'm about the slogan, if you will, for my brand is weight loss the way it's supposed to be. And through the last couple of years, I've had people come in and out, as a mentor and stuff like that. And this has been just quite an amazing journey. But also, so not only did I have a passion to help people lose the weight and keep it off, during a lot of the research that I started doing at around that time, summer of 2020, like I said, I took my red pill around a lot of things. That includes geopolitical things, that includes corruption, that includes a lot of interesting things that are going on behind the scenes right now. And through all of those rabbit holes that I was going down, I began going down rabbit holes that had to do with food, that had to do with ingredients, that had to do with health, that had to do with the system in itself around the health and wellness industry. And I began to discover so many lies, so much deception, so many twists and turns around all that. And it's no wonder there's people out there that have a hard time or don't even have the right knowledge to make the right decisions at the store. Why? Because you're sold the marketing that they're putting on the front of boxes, packaged foods, and different things like that. Let's take a box of just regular, like, let's say, Nutri-Grain bars or something like that. You look at the front of the box, look at the marketing that they sell you on. Oh, it's real fruit. Oh, no high fructose corn syrup. Oh, this, oh, that, all these flashy things. And they've even got a picture to make it look healthy, right? And, the best illustration I can give around this is picture a mom in the store. It's towards the evening time. She's got her 2-3 little toddler kids, and they're squirmy and they're getting into things in the cart. They're opening things that they aren't supposed to open. They're making a mess, and she's getting irritated. She just wants to get out of that store as soon as possible and get home so she can control her children more. And I actually witnessed this one day, and then that's kind of where I'm pulling this example for. I actually witnessed this one day. I was at, we have a store here called Aldi's, and Aldi's kind of has some really cool, like different lower priced items that are great deals. But even in a store like that, you've got to be careful because I was in the checkout line. She was in front of me, and there was a long line, so much so it went into the aisle, one of the food aisles. And I was just noticing her kids were just that. Her kids were fidgety. They were getting into things. They opened a box they weren't supposed to open. And she's just fiddling with them and trying to get them just to stop squirming and doing all that. And then I noticed she turned around because we were kind of somewhat in a food aisle. And she saw these little, I don't know what they were called, Nutri-Grain bars or some kind of health bar, so-called health bar, if you will. And I noticed she picked up the box. She looked at the front of it for a second, and then she grabbed a second one, threw them in her cart, and, that was it. I was standing there and I was thinking to myself, that's interesting. And, my gut was telling me, go check that out. So I went over and I checked out the box, and yeah, on the front, they're selling you all kinds of different things. Real fruit, no high fructose corn syrup, great source of fiber, all this, oh my gosh, all this junk on the front. I literally turned the box over. The thing's got like 20, 30 ingredients in there, and 80% of them you can't even pronounce. You don't even know what it is. That is not food, but they're being sold that it is food. And the mom is just so consumed with getting out of there quickly. She's not really making the connection. Maybe I should turn this over and look at it and see if it really is the best choice for my kids. So that's just an example, just a very simple example of the deceptions that these big food industries and companies use with people out there. And this is one of the things that I am extremely passionate to help people punch through, is all that deception and how to see through it. Here's another perfect example. I mean, and I think this is probably the most powerful one ever for any of the people in your audience. I mean, I love mayonnaise. I do. But so for those mayonnaise lovers out there, you go to the store, and now I think it's Kraft that has mayonnaise out on the front of the jar. They're selling you that it's made with avocado oil. They're selling you, and they've got another one that's made with olive oil. And we all know those are healthy choices when it comes to healthier choices when it comes to oils, because you've got the damaging seed oils out there. You've got canola oil, you've got corn oil, you've got safflower oil, you've got sunflower oil, you've got soybean oil, you've got canola, you've got grapeseed, you've got, oh my gosh, there's a list. And all of these seed oils out there, I mean, look up the damaging effects of seed oils. All of these seed oils out there, they cause so much chronic inflammation, and they damage your metabolism in so many different ways. People are wondering why it's so hard to lose weight. They think they're eating healthy. Well, they're also consuming seed oils in a lot of senses in ways that they don't even know that they're consuming it, because these seed oils are in everything. But anyhow, back to my illustration here around mayonnaise. So you've got the Kraft brand, for example. They are actually...
Just a minute. Yeah. What's? I don't think we get mayonnaise here in Australia. So what is mayonnaise? What?
It's like a sandwich spread, is the best way I can put it.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's like peanut butter or we have Vegemite.
Yeah, so in other words, it's something you would put like on a turkey sandwich. It's something you would put on like a chicken sandwich or something like that. You put mayonnaise on it. Yep. And oftentimes you'll also pair the mayonnaise. Maybe some people will pair it with mustard, depending on, and I put mayonnaise on a burger. I love mayonnaise and ketchup on a burger and stuff like that. So I'll do that. You can also, you make different things with it. But that's kind of what it is.
So it's a sauce. It's like a sauce sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like a spread. And it can be healthy depending on what you're buying. But anyhow, so a lot of the mayonnaise out there are made from the seed oils, the so damaging seed oils.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so the fact that you've got certain brands out there that are selling you on the front of the jar that it's made with avocado oil and olive oil is significant, because check it out. On the front, they're selling you that. You turn the jar over and you look at it. And yes, the first ingredient is avocado oil or olive oil. But what's the next ingredients? Soybean oil and canola oil. So my point is look at the deception that they are selling you, and create more of an ingredient awareness around the products you're getting, because you're going to start making some crazy surprises. You turn something over and it's got a long list of ingredients. I'm just going to tell you, put that freaking thing back on the shelf, because that is not food. What you should be consuming is something with way less ingredients. Let's just keep it really simple. A New York steak. What are the ingredients in a New York steak? 1, beef.
Yeah.
That's whole food. Okay, and that's just an example. That's what you should be consuming, is things with minimal ingredients. And so, kind of getting back to where I was going with all that, it's my passion to help educate people around the deceptions of the marketplace out there, because they don't care about your health. They only care about their damn pocketbook. And the health of most people. Like, I live here in America, you have the big food companies. They don't care about the American people. They only care about their pocketbooks. Should it be that way? No. But that's just the system we're working with right now. I'm grateful that more and more people are starting to wake up to that. and realize the deceptions. And then there's even some severe things happening, like people are starting to boycott certain companies, which is also exciting to see. But all of that, so through my research, I just started discovering all these deceptions. Another one I'll mention here, just as a little bombshell, because there's still some people out there that believe that cholesterol is this bad thing, and it's really not. And that is like, that's the crazy part of it. So I've actually got an entire really long, crazy outline that I put together around cholesterol that just from one of my deep dives that I took down a rabbit hole. And I just want to take a moment and I want to share this little quote from this outline just to kind of put a little bombshell and a thought into your head around this. And this is why I'm very passionate about what I do, because I want to lead people to more of a healthy lifestyle and more of a enlightened lifestyle to be able to make better and more informed food choices. So check this quote out. And some of you might be going, oh my gosh, some of you might just go in your head. So check this out. There is no such thing as good and bad cholesterol. These are names that were created in order to confuse patients and scare them into taking dangerous cholesterol-lowering drugs. Consider that next to water, there is nothing more important to your body than cholesterol. HDL, the high-density lipoprotein, so that's what HDL actually stands for, high-density lipoprotein, the so-called good cholesterol, and LDL, low-density lipoprotein, the so-called bad cholesterol, are not even cholesterol. Let me let that sink in for a minute. They are not cholesterol. They are lipoproteins, cholesterol transports. Keep that term in your head as I continue on here. Lipoprotein transports. LDL transports cholesterol from your liver to various parts of your body where cholesterol is needed, such as your cells. HDL transports cholesterol back to your liver to be reused. Your body is dependent on LDL and cholesterol for hormone production. Without LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, your body is incapable of making the steroid hormones that your body needs. Now, I don't know about you, but learning that alone for my journey and my deep dives was a big bombshell. I'm just like, oh, okay, so this is another thing they've lied to us about. Cholesterol is actually a very good thing. And as far as with the HDL and LDL, I'm going to tell you, they are both neutral. Neither is good or bad. They are both neutral. HDL can become bad. HDL can become good. So can LDL. The system doesn't want you thinking this way. How do they become bad? I'm going to tell you real quick. They become bad by the foods you are eating. And here's what I mean by that. So picture you've got a guy on a bike. The bicycle is titled Uber Cholesterol Delivery Guy. Okay. And he's on a bike. He's getting ready to deliver cholesterol cells to different parts of the body that need it and da-da-da-da. Well, you've got a person, they've got an eating routine. It's full of seed oils and they're consuming processed foods. They're consuming all this junk. What eventually happens to this guy in the bike and the cholesterol cells that he's transporting is they eventually start to oxidize and get damaged and further damage and further damage. You picture the cells on his back start to light on fire. I mean, I'm just kind of giving like a real bright illustration. And this actually is not my own. This comes from a website, drkate.com. Kate is spelled with a C, C-A-T-E. And in one of her articles around cholesterol, she gives this illustration, and I just kind of take it from there because it's a perfect way of simplifying it and explaining it. But anyhow, that cell and the Uber guy gets oxidized, and eventually they both stall out, and then what happens is it stays there and sticks in your arteries, and this is what's called artery plaque. This is how it happens. That's how cholesterol becomes bad. Now, if you've got an eating routine that is pretty much 85-90% whole foods, you're eating great satiating meats, you're not scaring away from good quality saturated fats, and you've got a great eating routine going on there, and your doctor comes to you and he says you got high cholesterol, that is actually a good thing. A very good thing, actually. A person with an eating routine like that has high cholesterol, that cholesterol is good. That cholesterol is going to boost your immune system, which is a very interesting thing that we need, especially nowadays with all these interesting experiments they're doing. Hint, go do your research. And that high cholesterol, in that sense, is actually going to make you live longer. The last thing I'll say on this subject is, check this out. Your body produces 3,000 milligrams of cholesterol on its own per day naturally. Yet, associations like the American Heart Association wants to tell you that just adding another 300 milligrams into your daily routine is going to put you at a higher risk of heart disease. Now, if you are thinking logically in any way, shape, or form, that makes no sense whatsoever. Yet people buy into that. So just another example on how I lead people through these deceptions and teach them and show them the pathways to what is really true so they can make more enlightened and informed decisions around their food choices. Long-winded. Sorry about that, Scott.
So yeah, and this is what I brought up last week, is that cholesterol theory is flawed. It has to be. Why? Because people are taking the statins, they're taking the Crestor, Lipitor, Vasostatin, and their cholesterol is low. But the problem is they're still having heart attacks and strokes and dying. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the evidence is right in front of everybody.
Yeah, they're still dying from heart attacks and strokes with low cholesterol. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a little gem for you guys. So anybody who wants to get this book, this guy, he does a great job on explaining this stuff. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of research I've done on it. But anyhow.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because people are still dying and still having heart attacks and strokes, and they got low cholesterol. So if they got low cholesterol, that doesn't, the cholesterol theory doesn't make sense.
Yeah, let me tell you something else. Your brain is made out of two main components: saturated fat and cholesterol. Isn't it interesting that both have been attacked? Yeah. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's what with surgeons. This is I found this out about three or 4 years ago. When surgeons want to do brain surgery and remove a tumor or whatever they're trying to do with the brain, they'll actually get their patients to eat high sugar and low fat diets. So what it does is it actually shrinks the brain. So it makes it easier for them to go through the skull and get into the brain to remove whatever they're trying to do. Doesn't that tell you something?
Yeah, just unbelievable. Now, if you go to your doctor and he tells you you have high cholesterol and you've got a crappy eating routine, yes, then you've got something to worry about. But that doesn't mean that you need to lower your cholesterol. That means you need to change the things you're eating. And that does not mean you shy away from animal proteins. That does not mean you shy away from saturated fats. That's a lie that the industry has told too many people. And even our doctors have bought into that. And you just got to be careful. A lot of doctors out there, their hearts may be well intended, but they were trained in a system that is outdated, and they were trained in a system that teaches them, oh, you've got this, take this. And we've got to stop thinking that way.
Yeah, they're practicing legal medicine.
Yeah.
They look up their little cookbook. Oh, you've got this, this, and this. Here's the remedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that yeah, thanks for that for the cholesterol. So, and what was I going to say? You're talking about before those choices that we make.
Mhm.
What sort of tips could you give the audience on how to go away? Because I know sugar is very addictive. Like they did studies on, they used I know one study they used 1,000 participants, and they used actually the only reason why I know this is because one of the applications was acupuncture, but they used acupuncture, sugar, cocaine, and the other one was I think it was heroin. They used heroin.
You know what's
And
interesting about everything you just said there? Sugar is literally as addictive, and I've read this in multiple places. Sugar is literally as addictive as cocaine and heroin. And yet you just said that they give all three to people. Now I find that
oh
really
no no they broke them up into groups. They
oh,
broke
okay,
them
got
into 4 groups, and they did PET scans on the brain
yeah.
to see what would light up the most, and the worst was actually sugar.
Yeah.
More potent than cocaine and heroin. So
And look at everything is filled with. Now, back in the day when they sold everybody on the fact that saturated fats was so bad for you,
they still do. They
yeah,
still do.
they still do. But check this out. When companies started taking that good fat out of products,
Yeah.
it pretty much
Yeah.
left those products flavorless. So what did they put in?
Yeah.
Sugar.
That's
Anything low fat, anything fat free is chocked full of processed stuff and chocked full of sugar. Stay away from it.
yeah. Yeah. That's that. Yeah. And that's yeah. We talked about this last week. Hensel Keys in his seven country study, and he cherry picked his countries. He didn't put France in there. He didn't put it was Sweden or something like that. I can't remember. And they were eating high fat, high um, protein diets, and
Yeah.
they didn't have high incidence of cardiovascular disease. And he didn't put that in there because he knew that it would screw his theory up that cholesterol was the issue. And that was it. That was in the 60s, and that was it. Once they adopted his theory, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Exactly what you just said. They got rid of all the fats out of the foods, and then they just highly processed sugars like corn syrup and all that. Yeah, they found it was cheaper with corn syrup. That stuff
Now,
is poison.
yeah, it is. Now, it's darn near impossible to get on a routine where you've got absolutely zero sugar on a day to day basis. So I don't tell my clients that you cannot have sugar at all, but what I encourage
You can't avoid it anyway. It's in
yeah,
everything. You can't avoid it,
what I
and there's a
encourage
reason. And there's a reason for that.
yeah, what I encourage people to do is start paying attention to it. And if you're gonna consume something with sugar, like my guilty pleasure, if you will, is my sauces. I like barbecue sauce and things like that. And that's my guilty pleasure. Do I have like an overabundance of it? No. So the little amount of sugar that I do get when I have my sauces and when I make something really yummy and great, it doesn't really do anything. But what I just mainly encourage people to do is start paying attention to these ingredients and stay away from things like corn syrup, stay away from things like high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have a product that maybe has a little bit of sugar in it, make sure it says sugar. Try to go for more of the organic sugar, stuff like that.
Yep.
Again, make it sustainable, but make those adjustments. But sugar, some people might ask, well, how much sugar should I be getting? And I'm going to quote a doctor on YouTube that I follow, and his name is Dr. Eric Berg. Great person. He's more of a keto person. Now, I don't latch on to titles or anything like that. Mastery Weight Loss is more about a customized program for each individual person. There is no one size fits all. So I'm just prefacing that. Because if somebody does go check Dr. Eric Berg, they're going to find out very quickly that he's keto. Now, I take pieces from him because he's got some great insights. And one of his pieces that he said is when it comes to how much sugar should you be getting, or can you, or what, the way he puts it is 0. You don't need it. It's the same thing as carbs. There is no essential carb. You really don't need them. Now, am I going to say don't eat carbs? No, because I do feel like that there is a place and a time where carbs are useful. Complex carbs are very, very useful in your eating routine. It's all about that balance and placing them in the right place. But you don't need sugar, and there is no essential carb.
Yep. There's no such thing as a carbohydrate deficiency. Unless you starve yourself. Unless you starve yourself. Now you're going to be deficient of everything. So, but
So in answer to your question, what are some of the things to pay attention to? Sugar, for sure. The other thing is stop this low fat, free thing. That's like the biggest scam. And I've actually done a podcast episode on the low fat and fat free scam. That's on my own podcast. But yeah, stop buying into that. Buy, get, if you're into milk, fine, great. Go get the raw milk, get the full fat, and don't buy into this low fat, fat free. Try to stay away from as much as possible processed milk. Processed items, stay away from them. Boxed items, bagged items, pre-prepared food, TV dinners, pizzas you buy at the grocery store, frozen pizzas. Oh my gosh. Turn it over and look at just all the stuff that's in that. Like, it's like a list of 40.
They put a lot of salt. They put a lot of salt in those bases.
Well, these days I don't really scare away from salt either. Salt is another thing that we've been sold, which is a falsity. Salt is not bad for you. As a matter of fact, it's almost impossible to overdo it in salt. Your body will actually get rid of it when you've done too much. And then your body actually has mechanisms that will cause you to get thirsty so that you can dilute some of that. So it's interesting, as I've done some research around that too. So the salt scare was something else they sold us on. But one of the things that I'm going to say around salt as well is just the regular table salt. Yeah, no, there's better choices. Get the pink Himalayan salt. Get even the Celtic salt. Celtic salt tends to be a little pricey. So what I use Celtic salt for is to put electrolytes in my water. So when I'm taking my water, my gallon jug to the gym, I've got like 2 little scoops of that Celtic salt in there for natural electrolytes. That's all you need. You don't need to buy an electrolyte powder or anything. Just get the Celtic salt, put it in your water, and you're getting the good electrolytes that you actually need to have your body kind of retain some of that water, which in this case is a good thing, and have your body actually absorb some of that water. Otherwise, if you're just consuming water, a lot of times it's just flushing through you.
Yeah, I know.
And so
with the fighters, the UFC fighters and the boxers, they actually when they're trying to strip weight, they reduce their salt intake as minimal as possible, because salt actually helps to retain fluid in the body, and that's why don't eat much of it, so then they can so they can lose weight really, really fast. Really fast.
Yeah, but it's just that's
It's not healthy. It's not healthy.
yeah, and it's actually not real weight. It's almost like an illusionary weight because you're really not losing fat. You're just losing water.
Water, yeah, that's right. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get that excess water.
Yeah.
So,
but that's not always bad though, especially if you're the type like me where when you're at the gym and you're in a rigorous routine, I sweat a ton to the point to where I hate headbands, but I have to wear a headband when I'm at the gym and I'm in one of my crazy rigorous routines because I actually had a period of time, interesting enough, where I went through 7 pairs of headphones in a year and a half because the sweat would waterlog the headphones that I had. So now I have to wear a headband. So in this case, it's actually extremely important for me to add the electrolytes to my water when I'm at the gym. Also, one other note here on water, stay completely away from tap water. If you don't know already, tap water is horrendously filled full of pharmaceuticals, fluoride, chlorine, all of this. And you have no idea the damages it does not only to your neural pathways, to the receptors in your brain that fire. It creates a ton of problems. What you can do, it's very, very affordable. So this is one of the reasons why I don't latch on to some of these big old water companies that sell their expensive water filters and everything. I'm more about finding solution for people that's more affordable. What I did find is, so I actually have a little countertop. You can find it on Amazon. It's a little countertop reverse osmosis system. So it's not the reverse osmosis system that you have to hook up and do all these wired things in your house and you've got this big old giant thing underneath your sink. This thing literally was $150 on Amazon. It sits on your countertop. So you've got the filters on the countertop and then you've got the water spigot that comes out of the last filter and then it hooks right up to your water thingy and your sink. It takes literally took me 7 minutes to install it. Boom. The replacement filters are pretty reasonable to get. And it's a very affordable option, but reverse osmosis. And then once you do the reverse osmosis, you do want to put the electrolytes back in your water using that salt because reverse osmosis strips it of everything, strips your water of everything, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Have you heard of electrolysis reduced water? ERW? Yep. I'll send you some information. We're running out of time. You've done really well.
We are. I could go on so much. Before the other thing too, in regards to what to pay attention to, because I know you've got this last question here.
Yep.
What rules would you like to go by? What rules would I give people to go by to attain longevity? And so I kind of want to further address that a little bit more. We've already kind of touched on it. But the very first thing I'm going to say is please, for the sake of the love of God, please stay away from diets. Do not go on another diet. If you're looking to lose weight, just don't do it. Don't go on another diet. Look for a way to do it sustainably and make those changes in your life so it's the last time you ever have to do it. Might it take longer? Yes. Is it going to be more worth it in the end? 100%. Because you're going to build more of an automatic pattern and you're going to change more psychologically and mentally so that those changes just kind of adapt into who you are. That's really important, you guys. And along with that, like I said, making your habits and changes that you're doing in your life, making that sustainable. That's the key, sustainable over the long haul. Next is, I would say, quality proteins. It's really important to adapt into a routine that's more protein heavy than it is to, just have a bunch of carbs in your routine. Now, protein heavy is definitely the way to go. If you look at our ancient ancestors, for thousands and thousands of years, they survived off of animal foods, animal fats, um, uh, organ meat, different things like that. If you really look at the history, thousands and thousands of years, I mean, and if you look at their structure, they were strong people. They had lean muscle. They were healthy. They had no problems with all mortality issues. So,
Yeah.
quality protein, and make that the basis. Get more protein in. Make your meals more protein heavy. Um, and I personally, I recommend animal proteins because I really feel through my deep research that there's just so much more nutrition in there. I can go into that too, but for the sake of time, I'm keeping it really simple. Whole foods. Eat more whole foods. Stop getting the packaged items and box items, because if you pay attention to the ingredients in there, number one, there's a ton of unnecessary stuff in there. And number two, it's got sugars in there. Number three, and probably the worst one, it's got seed oils in most of those stuff. Stay away from those. Start making your own salad dressings too. Almost all bottled salad dressings have seed oils in them. Lastly, build an awareness around ingredients. Start building that habit to turn over things and pay attention. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that actually with the legumes and nuts, and they say that they're high in protein. Yes, they are in a laboratory setting, but actually the body doesn't treat it as a protein. How do we know? Because my mentor actually did thousands of subjects, and what he would do is he'd get them to eat the legumes and nuts, and then he'd take blood um, samples and check their blood sugar. And what actually happened was that it would cause a spike. So what is happening is the body is actually treating legumes and nuts as a sugar, as glucose.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I could go so far on this, but just real quickly here. Um, I 100% agree with everything you said there, Scott. And here's my addition to it. So there's a reason why a lot of vegetarians and plant-based people have a very hard time with losing weight. It's because of that reason right there. The protein is turning into glucose. And there's number two, it's really hard to become satiated. And what I mean by satiated is basically you get full faster and you stay full longer. So you're very satisfied, satiated. This, when you're in this state, this is what begins to attack the snacking issues. This is what begins to attack the hunger issues, which are two also main things that people struggle with on a regular basis. And when you're eating good, satiating foods, that starts to diminish. And it's really hard to do that on a vegetarian diet or a plant-based diet. Really, really, really hard to do that. Also, interesting. It's really hard to get all your nutrition on a plant-based or vegan routine. You have to eat a ton more to be able to get the proper nutrition. You might feel better for a period of time, for a long period of time, maybe for maybe a couple of years, for maybe 3-4 years, whatever. You actually might feel better. But I'm willing to bet over time, you're going to become nutritional deficient. Study after study after study, article after article after article I've poured over. This is what I've seen. You get the deception in the beginning that you feel great and everything's going great. But after a while, you're going to become nutritionally deficient.
Yep, that's what I've seen too. All right, thank you so much, Ken. You pretty much asked. So I suspect your ideal client would be someone who wants to lose weight and sustain it for their life.
The
I suspect
ideal
that's what.
client, really quick, is I am looking for people between 30 to 45 years old. You know, I you've got a career, you've got a busy lifestyle, you got kids, maybe even if you don't have kids and you're just busy, but you know, you've got some health goals in mind. You are who I'm looking for. But the basic age range of my typical client is between 30 to 45 years old, just to kind of give you a little bit of a a nutshell on what my ideal client looks like.
Cool. All right. It's been a pleasure having you on, Ken. I learned
Thank you
a
so much.
lot. I learned a bit too. So thank you so much. And yeah, no one was commenting. So they must have, they must be still asleep.
No worries.
So thank you so much for your time, Ken. And you've been watching the Get Busy Living podcast, and much appreciated, Ken. You have a great day.
Awesome. Did you end it?